Hey guys, Paul from Ashen Phoenix. It is New Comic Book Day for the week of October 14th, and we're going to get started right now. This episode brought to you by the Comic Book Store, 30 North Main Street, Glassboro, New Jersey, 08028. Come buy some comics, or some D&D. There's a lot of D&D. Ton of D&D. Or some Warhammer. They have Warhammer too. Grab something.
Hey guys, Tim from Stuff. I Do Stuff. You know what stuff I do by now, right? Paul, do they know?
I hope they know.
They might know. From Capes and Scowls. It's a fun podcast. You should listen to it. I got this mask. The masks are fun. Did you like yours?
The
Teespring.
I haven't got one of mine yet, though.
Teespring. You
I
should.
will have sold some of mine, but...
Teespring. Team Ashen and Capes and Scowls. Get yourself a mask. Let's talk about some trades, because that's what you're here for. Comics. Doomsday Clock, the big old tome trade paperback edition. That is finally here.
But can you kill someone with it?
Probably not. You could annoy somebody super good, though. Marvel vs. Venom.
If you're that old style Chicago cop, you can, like, beat somebody with the...
It's like phone bookie?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. Is it weird that I knew exactly what you were going for?
We've been together too long.
I like goons, that's all I can say. Marvel vs. Venom. This is a good introduction to Venom. Many different styles and books. Some old, some new, some McFarlane. And kind of interesting. Iron Man 2020. This is issues 1 through 6 of the main story by Dan Slott. I didn't really like it. Okay, moving forward. Power Rangers Volume 12. I think this is new. It doesn't matter. If you're not reading this Power Rangers book, it's super good. Every time I pick up a Power Ranger book, I love it. I was never into the Power Rangers. Swamp Thing, Twin Branches. This looks kind of cool. Young adult novel. Dollhouse Family. More of the Joe Hill hardcovers. These are great. People seem to dig these a lot. I like the hardcover format for it. And then finally we got Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 1, the Al Ewing. Al Ewing's so good, isn't he?
He is.
Al Ewing, you're very good. Thought you should know.
Alright guys, unlike last week, I'm not going to let X of Swords overrun the entire thing, so I'm going to lump all of them together. We have X of Swords Hellions, issue number 5. We have New Mutants, issue number 13. And we have Cable, issue number 5. Two of these are going to be dealing with X of Swords participants. You have Warlock, you have Cable, both retrieving their blades to get in the fight. But Hellions is actually one of the more interesting ones because one of the fun things about Hellions in general is Mr. Sinister as a character and how much of a wide berth they kind of give him as far as a writing tool. And he has come up with a great idea since the X-Men could potentially die in Otherworld and kind of cease to exist as a person. Why not we just go into Otherworld and steal all the swords and then they have to forfeit? So that's what he's going to do. He's sending the Hellions into Otherworld to literally just steal swords. So that way, when it comes to the fight, they don't have anything to fight with and they have to forfeit. Interesting idea. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll see. Warlock is in New Mutants, dealing with his sword, which is also his buddy, and kind of dealing with the ups and downs of that, whereas Cable retrieves his sword, which is powering a broken down sword station up in Earth orbit, and problems ensue with that. All of the three are interesting, but again, as I said last week, other than Hellions, it's not really a reason to read these unless you really want to know how each participant is going to have their swords. So it's up to you if you want to grab them. In my opinion, Hellions is probably the one to grab because it actually moves the story along. The other two are just if you really, really like the books that you're already in.
All right, guys, my first book. Let me just spoil for Paul here. All three of my books are pretty good. Doesn't always happen, so hooray. My first one is Warhammer. What? Warhammer? Warhammer is a miniatures game, if you don't know. Everything is grim, dark, and terrible, and it's all about murdering people several inches at a time. This book is very similar, except it doesn't really have to do with inches. Kieran Gillen, very good. Jason Burrows for the art. Pretty good, because I'll tell you, I don't know a lot of the lore of Warhammer. I understand the game basics, and they mentioned things I knew. They mentioned things that other armies, other models that aren't actually appearing in this issue. They made a really good example of what the world looks like. They kind of fit a lot into a tiny first issue, and you got basically everything you need. It actually should make you want to check out the Warhammer universe. And if you're not familiar with the lore, the books, everything, super good stuff. So, yeah, I was super impressed with this. If you're a Warhammer player, you should read this. You'll probably like it. I know you want orcs. I understand. You'll get orcs at some point, right? Maybe? Games Workshop? Orcs? Maybe?
Next up, and almost my pick of the week, because I love this book so very much all the time, it is Once and Future, issue number 12. Kieran Gillen and Dan Moore just do an amazing job. It has always been a huge book that I love. One of my top two favorites. It's this and Die. Pretty much always at the top. But it is the fight with Grendel's mother, and it's not going well. And our heroes have to kind of make a compromise with somebody, and that leads to a lot of tangling up of stories between the Arthurian tales and now the Beowulf tales, and that is going to lead to a lot of complications down the road. A lot of complications are dealt with in this book, and I don't really want to spoil a lot of them, but they're really, really interesting ideas about being trapped in the duality of two different stories that are in essence the same technical character or archetype, but because the stories are different, the characters need to become different things. That's the best and kind of almost poetic way to come up with it, but it's such a good story, and I'm really glad that they continued on with this book. I can't wait to see more.
Next up, we got Rorschach. Some Tom King. Tom King, a busy dude. He's still doing Strange Adventures. That came out today as well. Rorschach, this is an interesting book. Now, if you haven't read Watchmen, should. And if you haven't read Watchmen, why would you read this? That's very strange, right?
A bit.
It's a bit strange. But you don't have to have read Watchmen. They're kind of clue you in on everything. You're just going to be a little confused. But this takes place after Watchmen, after a lot of the other events in the comics. And it is focusing on a assassination attempt on a man running for president. And it's just very cop detective work the whole time. It's very strange. I'm not sure. I have an idea where this might be going. This is probably not what you expected. This is a huge amount of setup, but I really did appreciate it. I'm curious to see where this goes, because Rorschach is such an interesting character, and I don't want him to be done bad. Tom King rarely do bad, right? So it's just so weird. It's so weird. I don't know what I was expecting for the first issue, but this wasn't it. Not that I'm complaining. I did enjoy it. This gave me more questions. Hey, the question. He looks like Rorschach. That's weird. It's not weird. It's not weird.
What could my pick be? It is Commanders in Crisis, issue number 1. Steve Orlando is doing an amazing job. So this book is written as if it is an Avengers story, but with characters that you don't know. So if you start reading this and it does have a very Avengers feel to it, it's meant to. We have these new characters that have some very, very interesting ties to each other at the end. I'm not going to spoil that, but what you have is you have a new type of Avengers storyline where bits and pieces of things are happening and you're introduced to brand new characters, really interesting, fun characters like Prizefighter and Seer and Originator and Thunder Queen. You pretty much know who these people are going to be if you were to add them to your DC roster or something like that. So it's just a really fun story. The art is beautiful. The art is something that really drew me in and drew me in. Oh, that was a terrible pun. I didn't even mean to do it. Don't at me. Don't at me. But the writing was spectacular. Steve Orlando does a really good job of kind of endearing these characters to you and giving you a reason to care. The twist at the end is really, really interesting, and I want to see what happens next. But this is a solid book. It is an interesting pickup to grab on New Comic Book Day. So get it.
All right, it's time for my pick of the week. Paul, what is it?
I have no idea.
That's right, you don't.
Never know.
One day.
Like one time.
Not the best track record, Paul.
You don't show me your books.
I don't.
You literally just walk into a corner, read, and then you come out of your corner.
A deep,
like,
dark corner, and yeah. Well, my pick of the week is The Devil's Red Bride, #1, from Vault Comics. I was so excited for this book. This book is getting a lot of comparisons to like a Blade of the Immortal kind of story, and Blade of the Immortal is one of my favorite comics ever. So essentially, you have some 16th century Japan action going on here. You have a family that is entrenched in war, and you're going back and forth from when the father, who wears this devil mask, he just gets consumed by, I don't know if it's an actual devil or if it's just like war rage. Sweet war rage, Paul. He doesn't know. But anyways, basically it is about his family throughout the ages and inheriting the red mask and trying to lead their clan forward. Doesn't all go well. I don't want to spoil everything for you, but things got to go bad. There's got to be a lot of blood on the ground. And I really just enjoyed, it's dark. This is a dark book. It's a little darker than I thought it was going to be right off the bat. But if you want a samurai kind of story, if you loved Blade of the Immortal, this is the kind of book you need. I really enjoyed it. Check out Vault Comics. They got cool stuff, all right? They didn't pay me to say that. Nobody pays me. Oh. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you. We made it to the end of the video. We're all pretty loopy and tired, so I think this is going to be pretty short. What do you... Short, Paul?
We're sad that you don't get to air guitar.
I don't get to air guitar. Not enough comments. I do appreciate everyone trying to get me to do it. I tell you what, I'll be nice. You'll get one of those Bill and Ted, just one.
That's all I wanted last week, and you wouldn't even give it to me.
Well, you got it this week. You got it this week, and you didn't even earn it.
I know.
No one earned it. You're all terrible people.
We got it halfway there, though. That's impressive for us. People, like, we get a lot of views. A lot of people love watching us. Nobody talks to us.
Oh, I know. I know how this works.
We would love it if you would talk to us.
Same thing with the podcast. I can see everybody's watching. I can see where everybody's watching.
But nobody interacts.
And I understand. You don't want to. You want your information. You're not even listening to me now. You've already left. And I'm okay with it.
But I'm not. I'm a puppy. I like to be loved. Just talk to us. We're good.
You're fine. You do what you want. Don't listen to Paul.
I'm the needy one in the relationship. He's not. He's the one that's over it. I'm the one that needs.
What's this? 5 years now? I'm way over it.
I know.
I was over it like day 2. Okay.
Wow, day 2.
This is just a thing I do, bro. Anyways, good night or good morning or good afternoon.
All right, Truman.